Roll call. Yeah. Commissioner Cable.
Here.
Commissioner Heisler. Here. Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Mathias.
Here.
Commissioner McHale.
Here.
Mr. Henderson. Here.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, so I had some changes. Did the employee introductions right away. And anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to remove the item P from consent.
So can I get a second on both of those?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so, we're gonna, yeah, review employees.
So I will turn over to Eva and Kurt and have them introduce the two new employees.
Okay. Rocio is not here tonight. She's under the weather, so she is our new human resources manager. But unfortunately, she's not here, so we'll just bring her to the next meeting that she's available for. And then we have Robin Orkvitz. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay. She's our new front desk guest services coordinator, and she was hired when Stephanie was promoted, which I'll let Kurt explain.
And for those who know, that's Stephanie Scott. Stephanie was at our front desk, and we have since promoted her to be our recreation aquatic supervisor. So she'll be taking over all of the aquatic operations and programming operations that Heidi left when she was promoted. So we're excited to have Stephanie. She's got a lot of experience in terms of running aquatics at other park districts. So she'll be a natural fit, and we're just excited to have her.
Thank you.
So, matters from the public, John Longo.
First. Okay. All right, well, thank you for letting me speak. My name is John Longo, Chief of Police for Park District Police, and we just want to tell you guys a few of the details that may not get into some of the talking points and some of the records that have been put forth. I want to tell you about some of the things from my experience that outside agencies won't provide to the Park District. I retired from Palatine after 26 years, and we weren't proactive in parks. If something happened, we responded. I think that's what is going to occur if outside agencies are taking over the security of the parks. There's a lot that we do that nobody hears about. Officer Sadowski over here, I called him a couple weeks ago when I was in training. There was a group at the Nature Center that was going on a hike. There was somebody running around in a Speedo or something. They were concerned. Kevin didn't just go up there and look for him. He went on the entire hike with them. It was a very good public relations move for the Nature Center, for the students, for their parents. There's got a lot of luck at Main Beach, being proactive. Shamrock Hills had an incident where the neighbor in the horse farm, they were having a eviction of a squatter who was threatening a lot of violence. And we were able to shut down Shamrock Hills for the time being, make sure nothing flowed over to them. For ambulance calls, for Crystal Lake, if they hear an ambulance call, usually a supervisor says, let the fire department advise. We go to all of those. And the benefit of that is we can investigate anything that happens, have a record, have a report, so that the first that the Park District is hearing about is not in a lawsuit. We have our side, not just what somebody who got injured is saying. Got a lot of others. We had an employee injured up at Lappins Park with the tree branch that fell on her, the tree itself. And that type of incident for a regular municipality, they're just going to come. She went in an ambulance, and that's it. There will be no report other than they responded. And we did a pretty good investigation on that one. We have ice rescue training. We carry equipment. We carry PFDs, cleats, and throwing ropes, wool blankets to help out in those situations. Whenever we're on foot patrol, which is as often as we can, we're carrying a first aid kit with a lot of important equipment. We have Narcan in there, which is a big deal right now. Quick clot for bleeding, tourniquets, Mylar blankets. So when I drive around with some of our new people, just in the short time I've been here, I have something to say about every single location that we go to that's been a victory for us. Something that's been well above and beyond what would be expected for just a call for service. I think we're right up there with Rockford has a great police department, Park Police, Springfield, Naperville, we work with them. Yearly conferences, the Illinois Police Law Enforcement Association, and there's a lot more. But I just appreciate the time, and I believe John O'Hara is going to speak to some of the NAP, that's his milieu. Thanks.
Okay, well, let's get to John right away. John O'Hara.
John O'Hara, way of introduction, 30-year resident in Lakewood, live in the Park District. 30 years, I've been a dual career guy. One of those careers is as a police officer, 23 years here in Crystal Lake and 8 years in municipal police before that. I wanted to share some perspective, some thinking points, and some context. I've only sat in one of these meetings, a committee of the whole meeting, and I heard some things that maybe deserve another perspective. One of them was cost per call. 287 calls, if you took the park budget divided by 287 was $700 and something. And you know, the perspective is that's not high enough, because I want the calls to be zero. It's all about prevention. If we had one call that cost us $400,000, that would be an absolute win. Lakewood and Crystal Lake, which is effectively surround us, have about combined 30,000 calls a year. We had 287. That's prevention. Police resources in the park is what's causing that prevention. Crystal Lake City recognizes it. That IGA agreement recognizes that if you want police resources dedicated to parks, you're going to have to pay for it. You're not going to save any money. I heard at the last meeting that they'll answer the calls for free, and I agree with that. I think all the crime and all the 911 calls you get, I think they're all free, but you're not going to get the prevention piece. And another consideration is the style and response. Crystal Lake City, very good. They've been great partners. They're very effective, but they have a different style than we do. The experience in the park is going to be different. As a practical example, 4th of July, they may have 4 officer teams carrying automatic rifles. I don't know. That's not the kind of park experience that we've had. I also, and that's consistent with what was, I thought, a great thing, Commissioner, Sarah, I think it was you. We don't know the park police without the park district. Park district's 103 years old, park police is 100 years old. We don't know one without the other. And if you separate it, it's going to be different. The recreational experience is going to be different. The crime prevention is going to be different. I try to understand the reason to do that, and I guess it's to buy something else. Maybe it's, you know, the aquatic center. I know there's been 2 referendums on that. So a consideration would be whatever you want to take this park police money for, put that referendum question out there. Does the public want, in my example, an aquatic center more than public safety, more than crime prevention? Maybe that's the question to ask instead of the other way around, because if you get rid of the park police and you lose the prevention, I think that, as I said, that's not our mission statement. That won't be enriching anybody's life in a recreational way. The question about security, just as another thinking point, security officers can't do what the police do just in terms of information management. I don't know if anybody remembers, we had a big problem with pedophiles hanging out at bathrooms at VA. But once we can run those license plates, and once they come up, and once we can identify them, we can confront them. Depending on their criminal history, we can arrest them. Security officers won't be able to do that. They can call 911 once there's an incident. I've got a lot of practical examples. I won't get into all of those. I'd encourage this board to make it more interactive. I think we're on the agenda. I didn't get a copy. There was none coming in. But if we are on the agenda, let's make it interactive. I'm going to be here. Chief Long is going to be here. Maybe we can share some things. We can share a lot of the problems that we've had over the years and have been able to focus on and eradicate.
Thank you. Okay, Bob Miller.
Somewhat diagonal.
Diane.
Good evening, my name is Diane Miller, live in Crystal Lake. My granddaughters Mia, who's 12, and Lila live near Knack Park. They've lived there for about 5 years. They don't use Knack Park because, in their words, it's old, and we've seen it, it's in need of serious updating. When they come to our house for a visit, they want to go to Kamajima Park because it's so much nicer than their park. Kamajima was nicer than that even before Kamajima was recently renovated. That's how bad Knack Park is. Mia and Lila have waited 5 years for their neighborhood park to be updated. How many more years will they have to wait? They're already 12 and 9. By the time the park gets updated, they'll probably be too old to enjoy it. That's a pretty sad statement. From tonight's board packet, there's a goal update for Q3 that starts on page 96. Goal 9.1 is establish a list of park renovations to be completed for Q1. The action item for this goal is to develop priority groups of parks for renovations based on age and need for improvements per a comprehensive master plan. Unfortunately, in Q3, no work has been done in this goal. The status comments section is blank. In the board packet is a January 11th, 2024 resolution regarding the transfer of funds. Item C is the 10-year capital replacement and improvement schedule review. It is noted that there are carryover items to be considered as priority projects such as the Della Street Playground, Heligus Road Park, and Mickey Sun Field upgrades. So it seems as if there has been a little more work done identifying the parks that need updating. I think the public would love to see the updated 10-year capital replacement and improvement schedule. Then everyone would be able to see when their neighborhood park will be updated. But priority projects should not include new projects. The priority should be updating parks like Knack Park. Priority should not be based on the income that's received from that particular park either. I know there are park board members who want to keep our park district police. Others believe, as I do, that we could do much better things with all that money. 100 years of park police history is not a reason to spend over $400,000 a year. The Crystal Lake Park District has many neighborhood parks that are in desperate need of repair. The money saved from eliminating the park district police should go directly to updating the sorely needed repairs to the neighborhood parks. Thank you.
Bob.
Good evening, everyone. Bob Miller, 33+ year resident of Crystal Lake. In fact, my property borders on Lakewood Park. The park police are on tonight's agenda again. It's listed as an item for discussion. When are you going to stop having these discussions about unnecessary and wasteful park police? When are you going to do the jobs that you were elected to do? Or are you just going to continue your ridiculous circular discussions and keep wasting citizen tax dollars on useless duplicative services? Every month this drags on, more tax dollars are wasted on the park police. Please make a final decision on this issue soon. After I spoke at the last meeting about the need to eliminate the cost of our redundant park police, I also listened to 2 park employees speak in favor of retaining the park police. My comments included the fact that most citizens in Crystal Lake don't even know that a park police force exists. Since that meeting, I've talked with neighbors and many other citizen taxpayers about the situation and about our park police. Finding anyone who knows that the park police even exists is difficult. When I discuss what's going on with the wasteful spending of our tax dollars for a separate police force in our park district, the response has been unanimous. Why are we doing this? I read about someone who supports the park police. It was a citizen submission to the Northwest Herald, It's Your Right column. The submission was from Marguerite Vogelson and her husband, Kurt. In the submission, Ms. Vogelsong states that she was a Crystal Lake Park District Customer Service Coordinator for over 27 years, and her husband was ground supervisor for 26. Why is it that it's only Park District employees and Park District board members who think it's okay to keep throwing a lot of our citizens' tax dollars into an outdated and inefficient segment of this Park District's budget? If a citizen calls for the park police, they're connected with the 911 dispatcher. There is no need for a redundant park police force. Crystal Lake's municipal police force are professionals. The Crystal Lake Police Department has the respect of all our citizens. They can enforce all ordinances and keep the peace in our parks. The Park Police Department is a patronage haven. In recent years, the Park Board has approved a lot of our Park District dollars for park police training. While I agree that keeping skills up and knowledge up to date are important, the Park Police Force is nothing but a training ground for cop wannabes. They get their basic training and a little experience with the Park Police. They help build their resume, and then they move on to other better paying jobs. All of this at the taxpayer's expense. If the wasteful Crystal Lake Park Police Force is eliminated, there'll be savings from the elimination of salaries, pensions, pension liability, and savings from not having to pay other benefits that are currently being paid out to the Park Police Force. All the Park Police Force equipment can be liquidated. The monies from that liquidation, vehicles and everything else, should be redirected to help update our already neglected parks. That money can be used to maintain unpaved park trails and improve signage in nature areas of the Park District that don't generate revenue. This Park Board loves the park sites that generate revenue. You ignore other Park District sites because they don't generate revenue. The citizens of Crystal Lake and Lakewood deserve better. All of our parks deserve equal treatment. Is this board going to continue its internal debates about the park police? Are you going to continue wasting citizen taxpayer money every month? Will you be remembered as the do-nothing board? Or will you do your job and act to save the citizens' money, act to shift the savings in the Park District budget to where it'll do some real good for all the citizens in Crystal Lake and Lakewood? Thank you.
You have no unfinished business, do we?
No.
The consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda without the item K? Move that accept. No.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Collins, do roll call.
Commissioner Cagle,
Yes.
Commissioner Heisler,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mathias,
Yes.
Commissioner McHale.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes. All right, we moved to the consent agenda, so let's get right to that. Kevin?
Yeah, I have two questions about this on initiative, the letter from them. Paragraph 3, it says that the foundation requests that the $5 per person fee charged at the gate be waived for all of Saturday. A Saturday in July is a pretty big beach day. Could we not charge admission starting at 2 o'clock or something?
I thought they were asking, if they be able to charge.
No.
So they do charge an admission for the regatta. And we haven't, and historically, the park district hasn't charged an admission that day. It's free each day after the regatta's over. Once the regatta ends, we could go back to charging as people come in, and we can look to do that. So say the regatta is over by 2, 3 o'clock, half hour, 45 minutes after that, start to charge people as they come in.
It makes sense to me that when the regatta was over, that we would return to normal function.
Anybody else thought on that? I wish we didn't charge for the beach entrance. So I'm not in favor of charging.
And then my second question is the next paragraph. It talks about how a restaurant sponsor will operate a VIP food and beverage. Crystal Lake Brewery is going to be selling alcoholic beverages. And then the next sentence says, all concessions and food sales for the public shall be provided by the Crystal Lake Park District. So it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it was contradictory.
So you're right. So what, they're gonna have a food truck, they're gonna have Crystal Lake Brewery, but then our concession operations will still be prepared.
Well, then it
So
should,
they're not asking us to shut that
So
down.
that, they don't,
It wasn't open last year. The park district concessions was not open for the, for Regatta.
okay,
This year, we wanted to make some money for the park district.
Yeah.
That was our,
okay, so then it just, it's not clear, it's contradictory.
So does anybody want to make a motion to approve this with that clarification? And, I think you might be seeing charge too.
Yeah, return to normal beach operations once the regatta is finished.
I'll amend that. Move to amend that motion.
Can you use your microphone?
Yes, so I'll amend Kathy's motion to exclude the payment, entry payment for the park district after. Yeah, you're saying everything here, we keep our concession open, right? But we start charging once the regatta's over.
Yeah.
And so I amended the motion to say the same thing, except I don't want to charge after the regatta's over. So if I can get a second, we can vote on that. Not, and,
I'd like
we'll go back
to
you.
amend his amendment. Sorry, I'd like to rather have a discussion in mind before you go and change it.
We can have a discussion. I didn't think you guys had anything to say on it. Yeah.
I think it's common sense to do it the way it's at. I don't think there should ever be charges either. That'd be great, but there are. So to me, it makes sense on that day to go back to what you're saying.
It's not what we've done in the past.
It's just been a free day.
To say it's just been a free day like it's normal, common thing, we haven't really had the regatta very often lately, so it's not like counted upon occasion, you know? So,
Well, let's move on. If there's no second on mine, we'll go back and ask for a second on yours. Anybody else want a free day or? No? Okay. You need a second to Kathy's?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Yeah, motion carried. Okay, so. New business items, anything there? Yeah, what was it?
So really, all there is there is, it is what it is. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We've made some progress. We're not moving as quickly as I'd like, but that's where we're at.
ask questions about the financial sustainability part. When you and Tina first got back from that workshop, you were excited.
Tina didn't attend.
Pardon?
I attended, Tina did not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a conflict, I think, on that day for me.
Okay, so anyway, I thought you were very excited about affiliates in baseball. Because we're taking a look at those programs.
I was excited for, just doing the cost recovery models for all areas of the district. Affiliates was one of the areas that we would look to see how we would adjust possibly our relationships with the affiliates and the whole financial aspect.
So can, in Q4, or we're not done with Q3 yet, or we are done. So Q4, what can we expect to see for progress for financial sustainability?
I'm hoping to get started.
I'm hoping so too.
Yeah, that's as much as I think I can commit. So if we get through some of these other topics we've been spending a lot of time on, everything in there is a priority. So it's just getting through some of these things. We're now going in the budget, so now it's also a good time to start looking. And to be successful at this, you've got to chunk it off. It's one of those things where you're never going to be done with it. It's a work in progress all the time, but we want to focus, determine first where some of those key areas that we want to focus on and get started there. Where we see that it's going to lead to things. So.
Thank you. That works for the insights.
Anything else?
But I have something. Teen programs, that's my thing. So they really said it's not well received. Can you expand on that?
Which
It says,
The focus group,
yeah,
Kurt reached out, I'll let Kurt explain. Just so you
Okay.
know later.
We reached out about doing some focus groups, and kind of the response that we got was, we're not necessarily interested in giving you student information for you to form your own focus groups. What we would recommend is you reaching out to your own employees that you currently have to just kind of take the temperature from them. Also, if you want to be a part of some of the job sharing things and career exploration that we're already a part of, they would welcome us to continue to be a part of that.
So either they didn't get the
That's-
question.
I was just
or
gonna
they're
say
just
that,
fluffing us
like-
up that they don't want.
I don't know if you noticed the board reports from Kurt, there's some really good team
Yeah.
programming stuff.
yeah, yeah, but that just, because, I work there, so
I know.
it just kind of struck me.
We're gonna try a different avenue.
Okay,
I do have one question for Q4. Do we have our naming policy in Q4?
It's funny, Amy just asked me about that this afternoon. We're gonna try to bring that to a committee meeting very soon. So we can get the one.
Yeah, that is something that we made, a foundation. I think we deserve an answer. From what I know, we need to one person, and I think it's appropriate to consider that. So what's our,
So I've been gathering information to develop a parking policy. Some people like naming parks after people, some don't, because there's always those in the community that really like the person, and there's those people in the community who dislike the person. So should we be naming parks after people? And also conjures up the question, who is Feinberg? I don't know. Turns out he was a lawyer, a developer. So should we be naming a park after something like that? Come up with some parameters of what we want to do.
Puma Park.
Go us.
Puma Park. It's got a ring to it though, doesn't it, Scott?
Not that that's not a slam on words, but it's like, what do we have to do with the park? That's kind of what the developer owed them a lot of favor. But anyway, so I think it's, I've seen some policies where you just name it after, a plant, tree, or a bird, some things as simple as that. But as I've been looking into more of these policies, they become very,
policies can change, if you change the board, so.
Right.
Whenever I think question. Parking. We don't need to go to policies. Policies change.
and you can always override that and say, this time we're gonna name it after someone.
Override policy, we're still begging the question.
Right. Exactly. So I can include that on the agenda for the February 1st,
Yes.
discussion, if everyone's okay with that.
Not just
Can you
discussion of the policy, just discussion, naming.
Right, after.
Can you provide us with information from your research though also, please?
I will try.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? All right. Now the exciting one, Park District Police discussion. I'm ready. The first was, I've been the one kind of driving this proposal. And thank you for what you said, Chief Rondo and John. I don't disagree with any of it. I think it's certainly going to be beneficial to us to have our own police force. Absolutely. For me, it's always just been a cost benefit analysis. Are we gonna, and it's not always using the money for something else, it's not taxing it. What I'm saying is that we don't have to maximize our taxes. We can leave money with the residents. So it helps to know what you guys are doing, but I kind of expected. Understand. Anybody else?
I think absolutely that the value of the police is in prevention rather than the number of calls. I think that's without a doubt the main benefit. Which isn't to say I'm not in favor of security. I'm in favor of safe parks. I'm in favor of security, but I think whatever we do, it needs to be visible.
What do you mean by visible?
Well, if we have a security force, they need to, instead of a police force, they need to be visible. If we have a police force, they're visible. You know, I think if there's no visible security, that's when we have problems.
I see them. We see them all the time when we run. So they're visible. I appreciate the contribution they make. And I do think we're talking in circles on this subject.
Oh, we'll get to it.
So,
I'm impressed with this.
But not tonight.
No, Mike's not here. We don't have that report, so.
Oh,
no.
yeah, I thought we were just waiting for the financial report.
Not just that, Mike's been vocal on this and I like to make sure, hopefully everything. So no, but I think we should, at some point make a decision, unless we're all in favor of just keeping the status quo. Then there's no action, we should note that and move on as well.
I'd like to see, you know, what we've been, I mean, we have spent a lot of time on this, so I'd like to continue to,
Yeah, we've got one more report. done.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
I
have
don't
that
wanna just
budget
drop it.
information to you.
And that's gonna make me just decide, you know, hearing people and seeing those things to make a decision. I'm on the fence, to be honest, and I, you know, and, I wanna do what's right for our taxpayers, that's my job, so I wanna gather all the information I can. And I wanna, you know, I want this to be about everything, not just finances or anything like that. So that's where I'm at. I'd like to, I don't think we're talking in circles. Personally, I think we're getting to the bottom of things. So I would like to have that information, and I appreciate you guys coming in and talking about it because that's very helpful. And, you know, from both sides. So that's where I'm at. Convince me, right? That's what, you know.
You two, so, you brought up that I can't remember if it was both or just you, John. Worked for the Crystal Lake, the city of Crystal Lake Police, and now you work for the Park District Police,
No, I work for Lakewood.
Lakewood, oh, okay.
Municipal police is what it's.
So I guess if there's, because we've heard what you just said today, and we've heard people before, and I was wondering, I don't know if this will help with anybody's thoughts, is, and I don't know if you can say these things, but what is your, if you have an example or a memory of when you were on the Lakewood and now you're on the Park District, like, do you see it different? Is there anything you can say about the two different jobs? Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah, I could see.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a difference because our police is very sensitive to, you know, and I said the recreational experience, the event that's, you know, going on. If we get a call that somebody's believed to have a gun at Main Beach, we come in quietly, we try to isolate them, we try to come up to them. And maybe in a municipal police setting, we would come in with patrol rifles and yell, everyone get down, and go at it a little more aggressively. And if you involve municipal police, you're gonna lose control over that. You don't have anything that Crystal Lake and Lakewood doesn't work for you. You don't have anything to say about the way they handle calls. You don't have anything to say about the way they respond. It's gonna be a very different experience for the people. So that's what I see.
My piece again, I retired from Palatine, so 26 years at municipal. And Crystal Lake's a great department. They are young. When you're young, you want to chase taillights and go do exciting things. And you also have numbers to get. If, you know, you got to get your arrest, you got to get DUIs, you got to get all that stuff. And that does not put you in the parks. And it doesn't put you in Stearns Woods. It does put you in a lot of places that we find. We had some car burglaries down at the Racket Club. So we set up a detail there where we go there every single shift. And this happened one other time, and John O'Hara pretty much interrupted some guys that were definitely there to do some car burglaries. They were not there for the racket club. They were there for nefarious purposes. And he got rid of them, and we didn't have any for a long time after that. So now we just made that one of our mainstays. Somebody's there every day down at the racket club. And the same thing happens in the summer at Lipple, when that place is ripe for car burglaries. It's just vast, it's a parking lot. And that's what they look for. And we've had maybe like 3 clusters of car burglaries, but they're not repeated. We keep up in the summertime. We try, that's our focus, being out there at Main Beach, the hot spots, more people, more police work.
We also haven't heard from the staff. You guys, that, I don't know, I mean, I don't know why we haven't, but is it necessary? Does anyone have any questions for the staff?
Staff. Chief, are you good with that?
Yeah. I would learn up to these guys.
Yeah.
Speak freely. Unless you want me.
Not all at
No.
once.
This will change the culture of the district. You know, if we change this, it's gonna change the culture. There's so much that we do, whether it's the rec team or my park services team, but we rely on them. So, you know, help us out with things. And,
Can you explain that, please?
sure, if we see someone suspicious, we can, you know, the proactiveness, you know, we kind of all work together. Obviously, they're the police, they're the law, but we're out in the parks every day as well. And it's just kind of a good gel, you know. A good example would be like, say somebody that's concerned about walking out of the parking lot, you know, at Grand Oaks at night, the racket club, things like that. The park police will be there to help you out. You know, other police will not, they don't do that. You can't put a price or, you know, a value on that. And that's what we have. We're here, we're customer service. We serve the residents. And that's what we're doing. That's what they're doing. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it.
So my question would be, how would a citizen know how to get a hold of the park police if they were worried about walking out at night?
Well, it happens all the time, or, you know, say you're in a class, a program instructor, you know, hey, I'm concerned about walking out of this, you know, facility. Well, John will set up a team or somebody to come by at that time when they're leaving, to maybe not hold their hand and walk them out. Guess what? They'll be in the park.
Primarily how that happens is a participant will let an instructor know, an instructor lets me know, and then we let the police know. We had that for both our theater and our dance programs. Both of them are taught a lot of times by high school girls. And actually we had one high school girl's mom call and say, if you guys can't provide some support, I'm not gonna let my daughter work there. And this was at Grand Oaks. I reached out to John and said, hey, every Monday night, can you have an officer out there at like 7 o'clock? I mean, it wasn't like it was 10 o'clock at night, but on a night like tonight by 7 o'clock, it's dark. And when you're sending a 17-year-old out there alone, it is a huge amount of credibility having those guys there.
The other thing too, I want to go to is imagine the bathrooms. We have a locking system that locks by itself. Well, guess what? These officers will check those bathrooms late at night and make sure that once that facility is locked, that there aren't any riffraff, if you will, or people that should not be in there hanging out in there. And that happens, you know. It's not like just the public can come by and I mean, it's all about proactiveness. I mean, can you imagine just like, okay, all of a sudden we're done with this. Guess what? When you're done, you're done. You know, and you're not gonna say, oops, gee, I wish you know, it's never a problem till it's a problem. And right now it's completely like proactive work and we don't even know how much we're, you know, helping this, you know, area. We really don't. There's a lot.
And to piggyback off what Eric says, I mean, we use these guys every single day of the week. I'll share one example that I think I've shared with the board before. We had a situation in preschool about 1.5 years ago. Mom and dad got a divorce. Mom got a restraining order against dad. Mom moved away. Dad didn't know where mom and child were. They didn't want dad to know because it was an abusive situation. Dad knew that the daughter was getting dropped off at preschool every day and getting picked up at the same time every day. That was the only point that dad knew where they were. Mom and staff were scared to death that dad was going to show up and there was going to be a situation. Talked to John, and for the rest of the school year, he had an officer there at drop off, officer there at pickup. it made the staff feel so much better. It made the parent feel better. I probably got 100 of those different stories. For us, as soon as these guys are gone, for my staff, their jobs just become less safe and harder. Now, harder is one thing. That's not why we don't do anything. Things become hard, we deal with that. But what I worry about a lot is the beach, because our guys now, these guys are the boots on the ground, especially on weekends. On weekends, it is overwhelmingly non-residents. It's people that don't have any ties to the community, don't care about the facility. And we go from having 2 officers walking the path just to check on things to now our college and high school beach managers. Or we have to find somebody else to walk that. On Labor Day weekend, it was so crazy busy. Heidi called me and she's like, Kurt, I'm worried I'm gonna get beat up. Like, people are just insane. And unfortunately, in today's world, it seems like everybody is just getting crazier and crazier. And like everyone has said, will the police come if somebody walks up and punches one of our staff in the face? Of course. But having these guys walk through to kind of help so that that stuff doesn't happen is enormous. There's special events that we run that if we didn't have these guys, we would not be able to run. Could we run a security team? I don't know yet, but just that ability to have somebody like John O'Hara that's worked every Friday night and go, hey, we've got an event going on. What do you think we should do to keep people safe? And he's like, well, here's what we've done for the past 30 years. So I won't bore. I mean, you guys know I'm firmly in the camp of, I think we should 100% keep these guys, and they're a huge value, not even talking about patrons, but just to all of our hundreds of staff.
Another good example of staff, my staff, I have 2 custodians that work at night. You know, they don't ask, but park police kind of like, will check, they know their schedules, they know where they're going. They'll kind of come behind them, and it's not like, hey, how you doing? But they'll come by and make sure everything's okay. Hey, the lights are on. Morrow must still be working there, you know? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, the culture. It's so intertwined that these things happen that you're not gonna get that anywhere else. It's already there. We watch for each other all the time, and that is priceless.
And financial wise, they do take the money to the bank every day for us. In the summertime, we have many places that revenue comes in. They go pick up the deposits and bring it to us. And then we calculate what needs to go to the bank, and they take it to the bank for us. And that can be, $5, $10, $20,000 at a time. And for either, a staff person to do that would be risky, I think. So having the police officer there to do that is beneficial, and it, keeps everybody else safe. I don't feel we would save much money, if anything. Again, a budget is a guideline. So what the budget figures are showing is things that we anticipate to happen. So if we plan for 2 officers on every shift, but maybe a shift couldn't be covered by a part-time person, so those wages didn't end up in the part-time budget or, being expensed in the part-time line item. It could because John might have done it and he's salaried. So that expense, while it was budgeted, maybe didn't happen. Well, right, but I'm saying on the actual, we plan to have the shifts covered by a certain number of officers. And if it ends up being done by a salaried person, then it doesn't end up being an expense because the salary is already the expense. Does that make sense? So while the budget is out there, it's our plan of what we think we need, but we don't always end up using it. So to focus on the budget number is different than focusing on the actual number.
The budget is so out of whack.
Right.
Just.
Well,
Just focus on.
we
Back
can't,
into that.
we can't throw out the budget because legally we have to have a budget. Right. But another thing that happened this year too was the state decided that all police needed to have cameras. So that was an expense we didn't want to have that, but legally we have to have it. So,
I think that's
right.
an argument against. We have to incur those expenses.
Well, but not necessarily, because if you have a security team come in, they're going to incorporate that in the fee that they're going to charge us. So while we may not be having the individual expense, we're gonna have to pay more for a security person to be on site.
You think the security would be required to have these body cameras?
Probably.
Yes.
I don't think they would, because not.
No.
Oh, well, if we have a police person though, like
Well, that's something we have to figure out.
right. Well, and for money wise, we would want somebody that would have, you know, the full officer uniform, including a weapon, so that they don't, you know, they aren't attacked going to the bank because somebody sees that they go to the bank every day at the same time. So,
I have one more question for Officer Longo, that you said that you were in Palatine. Sorry. You said that you were in Palatine and you didn't, so Cook County, that's Cook County.
Yeah.
And, okay, so my question is, because I'm struggling, I'm totally on the fence, so convince me. So the reason that I'm on the fence is because most park districts in Illinois don't have their own police force, okay, so just let's put that out there, right? And this is why I'm struggling. So you had said Palatine Police Department, lots of forest preserves in Palatine, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you said they don't react to the forest preserves, but I don't hear about any, and I mean, we're Cook County, Palatine, like, I'm not hearing how
You're not familiar with
horrible.
Deer Grove Forest Preserve is very shady.
Cook County has forest preserve district.
They do,
Yeah.
they cover all of it.
Okay, but okay, so it's different than
I
Park
was
District.
referring to Park District.
I- okay,
Park District.
Park District, not
Yeah.
like Cook County, okay, so I'm getting,
Yeah, so there's, I mean, you have Deer Grove Forest Preserve, Palatine Park District, and there's also a Salt Creek Park District. all
Okay.
within municipality. But
I just want to be educated, that's all, I'm asking, you know, because this is, you know, obviously, I'm not a police officer, so, and I don't live in that community, but I wanted to get, because you're like, we don't react the same to those situations, so can you kind of?
they don't patrol.
Okay,
parks.
So it's the
They don't
preventative-
patrol if you get like, if you call, you respond, but there's no proactive, what am I gonna go find in the parks? Because everyone, like I said, everyone's running around trying to get their numbers. Unfortunately, they have stats that they have to hit. And, that's what they go for. It's not exciting for them, for younger officers to sit in the parks. Just refer to that. We don't bring people in and then, we're not a launching pad for careers. We're kind of an endpoint. Kevin's retired from Chicago as an inspector of accounts. Been here 20 years, a very successful contractor. I'm retired. We have people that, John back here is a sergeant with Kane County. This is part-time and kind of the end of the road. We're not launching people's careers here where they're taking off from us.
No, we have the benefit of all of your experience
Yeah.
here in our parks, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I know it's kind of late, but I still wish we had a good informative discussion about how other park districts without police departments accomplish security for their park districts.
So I can address some of that, because I've worked for 4 other districts, and when I arrived here, I had a concern about us having park police. Because I had worked in districts that didn't have, like, why do we need this? It seems like it's expensive to put somewhere else. Everything you guys are asking, and it didn't take me long to be very grateful that we had them. Because our district's a little bit different from some of the other places. John mentioned Palatine. I worked in Palatine for 9 years, and he's exactly right. If we had an issue with a softball game, call the police and hopefully they can get there fast. There was never anybody coming through the parks to see what was going on. And there were some pretty shady areas of Palatine where we had stuff going on, and it was very uncomfortable as a staff person to be out there. But when I reviewed what we had going on here with the large sizes of some of our parks and the amount of activity that happens in these parks, there's a value to having them just as a presence. And, you know, we've talked about duplication of service, which I think after a lot of what everyone said, the city's not doing anything of what our guys are doing other than, it ends with the word police, in my opinion. When it comes to the money, yes, can we sharpen the pencil and tighten the belts? Definitely. You know, this $400,000 number we're throwing around, I agree with Eric. We need to be looking closer at the actuals and come up with a number and back into that, make sure we're covering what we need covered and we're handling everything. so far, the research we've done on these private security firms, we're not gonna save much money, if any. It may even be more expensive depending on what model we decide to look at. But so, you know, my first 6 months here, there were 6 suicides in our parks. Thank God, since then, there haven't been any. But one day, the city responded first, and the city officer was literally walking around the park going, I have no idea where this is. An officer said, it's this tree up here right around the corner. And sure enough, that's where the person was. That showed me value in knowing that our guys know their ways around our parks and they know where some of these key areas are. As far as what other park districts are doing, one of the models we looked at, I found out St. Charles Park District just hired a security firm to do their work because they were having trouble filling the previous positions that were doing that work to their satisfaction. It's just to patrol from 3 to 11 is costing them, I think it was $120,000 or $150,000 a year. Just to have one guy going around 7 days a week for those hours, and that's all they do. It's very well done. I was very impressed with what they had in place. When I worked in Glenview, we had a retired Chicago officer that would just drive around from park to park, check on the picnic permits, make sure there's no alcohol. He was kind of a diamond in the rough because he was this big burly guy that was like Santa Claus. Everyone loved him. So he never got any trouble in the parks. We tried doing the same thing with, you know, college age kids or someone in their early 20s and that really had no experience, and it was a joke. They were just made fun of, you know, out of here, you know, can't tell us what to do. That was the type of resistance they were met with. There's, I think, currently 15 districts in the state that have park police, and I know that's not a lot because there's, you know, 300 to 400 park districts in the state. But I think the ones that have them for a reason. I know Scott and his firm did that survey, and a lot of the information came back, and I saw it was some people asked me if I had gotten. I said no, but it was actually correct district, and they're like, oh, we actually really love to have a police department because it would help us dealing with some of these things. And you know, the point Kurt brought up about things are getting crazier and crazier every year. It makes me nervous to not have these guys in our back pocket to use when we need them. You know, I think we've talked a lot about money and we've talked a lot about duplication of service, but this is kind of the first night we've had a chance to talk about philosophy. I think that's what a lot of this comes down to is, you know, are we doing right by our residents to make sure our parks are safe? Because there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in parks that we never hear about. And these guys are here to kind of nip it before we even get to know about it. And I guess I'll wrap up for the now, but you know, I've encouraged you to take a ride along with the police, and I would be really hard pressed that we were to make a decision with, and the answer was let's get rid of them without you doing that, because it's going to give you a true flavor of what these guys do on a daily basis, so that you have a better idea of what it is we're disposing of. That's the direction we decide to go. Because it's that big of a decision and steps. You should have a really good flavor of what that's.
Let's move on to the next thing. Thank you, guys, and get ready for the discussion. Okay. Reports to the board. Let's try to hustle up.
The only extra thing I have to say is next week we have majority of staff will be out at the state conference down in the city. Kathy's attending, so most of us will be down there from Thursday through Saturday. So that's all I had.
Just an update on the audit. We did have to turn in our letter today, representation letter, and it had yesterday's date on it. So I think they're getting close to the end. They should have the documents to us maybe within, I'd say, I don't know if they're gonna have by tomorrow, but maybe by next week. They're planning to file it with the state for January, and then it should be ready for, if not for the committee of the whole discussion, then it would be ready for the February board meeting.
Nothing outside of my report other than staff will be at conference like Jason said, and everyone's hard at work at their budgets.
Nothing to add tonight. Thank you.
I have something to add. I used in front of you the updated design layout for Howard's Road Park. Can't wait for you. I just have a feeling on that. And, I would like to say one point though about it. And I know everything about safety is very important. And I personally, as a person who lives in Cook County, I will not go to the Fourth Season by myself because it is so unsafe. I will go here. Now that point, on the development side, we've had vandalism at parks that I'm working on, and I've been able to call John and his team, and they put up cameras to proactively
see what's going on and why am I having problems? And they, John and his team have caught some, have stopped the problem. And that's been very helpful for me in my job. So I'll just put that up too. But back to Haligus, this is the latest design. We, as we discussed, we added the basketball and the park has become a little bit more narrow because we have a lot of larger area for wetlands that was identified as wetland. And we're really excited on the direction it's going.
We're about at 100%.
Yeah, almost at 100% for design, and we're working through the construction documents in cohesion with the design development. So as some of the design is tweaked, the construction documents are being tweaked. So we're meeting with LAMP next week for our big team meeting and starting to push this forward. We'll be out there this spring, and the goal is to get it completely constructed this year.
Basketball court's gonna be worn out. There's so much.
And pickleball.
And pickleball, and the playground, huge to me. I am so excited about this playground. And then, of course, the mitigation gardens, the gardens on the south end. And we're gonna do some hammock areas for teen hangout. And then at the north east corner, we're gonna have that, turning that little lookout into like a lookout amphitheater. So you could do like, maybe mini performance, for the moment kind of stuff. So, and of course, the soccer field, open play, picnic field, six bathrooms.
In a splash pad, is it really a splash pad?
No, it's gonna be like a water experience. It will have some of the features, spritzers and stuff, but it's gonna be more of a creek kind of experience is our intent. Now, that said, we do have to follow, state health, requirements.
Matters from the.
Hey, look at me, yeah, please, okay. So I was really through the report, Kurt, and love seeing the teen programming stuff coming up, the luau for the younger kids. Sounds great, the singing competition sounds great for the older kids, and I really appreciate getting those in there, thank you for making that happen. The Whipple mini golf success, I mean, that was really exciting to read, that we earned so much, we had such a banner year for it, and it made me wonder, could we give away Whipple mini golf passes and beach passes to D47 counselors to give the families that could use a perk, I mean, it doesn't really cost us anything, and when counselors can give stuff to families, they know who needs it, and I think it would just be a terrific investment in our community. And then, the theater program, I can't wait to hear about the new theater director. Weren't you hiring somebody to be announced to run the theater program?
We had hired somebody within the last year. Unfortunately, she was not able to stay with us.
Yeah.
But right now, as odd as it sounds, our theater program is primarily run by 2 high school seniors. And our theater program right now has reached the point where we are turning away so many people. We are trying to see if we can do 2 entire shows with 2 entire casts, but it's hard to find the staffing for that. So yeah, the growth in our theater program is insane. And if you haven't seen one of the productions, what they're doing now versus what we were doing 2 or 3 years ago, it's completely night and day.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, South has been an amazing host for us.
The last thing is, I just wanted to make sure staff knew that Purple Moose Child Enrichment Center has lost their lease and they might need to close down, and they're trying to find a new home. I'm not saying we need to take them in, but just be aware there may be need in the community.
Three purple moose and one man. It's terrible.
That's it for me, thank you.
Every day she just smiled. She created the kids. All right, so that's it.
I got someone. Okay, in addition to, the team program stuff, awesome, I had that written down too. But somebody perform before a Tuesday night concert, I think that's an awesome idea.
That I'd love to say that was all my idea,
Well,
but
I figured it was.
that's the team. the thing that I learned is how old I'm getting is I'm like, let's call it like Crystal Lake Idol. And they're all like, nobody calls it idle. It all has to be voice. It's all voice.
No,
Okay,
that's
perfect.
that's really cool idea. And then Eric's, I wanted to give your guys kudos for snow removal. I was out at VA Saturday morning, super early, like 7:15 or something. So we had all that snow on Friday. A lot was cleared. It was amazing. And I mean, your guys were out there clearing stuff. They were clearing the sidewalks. I was shocked that snow removal was happening like that fast because we got so much more snow overnight. So that was amazing. And it was a good experience because I was able to park my car.
Do they have anything for executive session? Nothing else? All right, meeting adjourned. See you later.
Oh, wait, hang on.